We've just heard about the man who invented talk radio, and while you really can't say Bob Hyland without thinking KMOX, the station continues to be the go-to station in St. Louis and has been for over 90 years. As John McCormick, the man who walks and talks at midnight, used to say, 50,000 red-hot watts. So tonight we're honoring KMOX with a Community Service Award. KMOX is much more than the sports voice of St. Louis. I'm certainly not the most objective person to be introducing this Community Service Award, since 1120 on the AM dial was my home for 24 years. But I have the microphone, so I'm going to do it. I travel all over the United States and Canada broadcasting games, and to Australia for the Olympics for CBS, and almost everyone I met in broadcasting knew the power of KMOX. In fact, several said, "Can you get me a job there?" The station has brought listeners Cardinal baseball for over half a century, but also Blues hockey, football Cardinals, St. Louis Hawks, Missouri football, big soccer matches, Super Bowls, World Series, and probably a few million hours of sports talk. KMOX is as much St. Louis as the Zoo, as the Cardinals, as the Muni, as Forest Park, the Brewery, Ted Drew's. KMOX is St. Louis, part of the fabric of the city. For example, just last week, KMOX is an all-day marathon filled 6 semi-trailers with supplies and food and raised thousands of dollars for hurricane relief. So accepting the award tonight, I believe he is here, Steve Moore, the Vice President of CBS Talk, Director of Programming Operations for KMOX. Steve, come on up here. Treat him nice, he was once my boss, so treat him nice. Steve, thanks for coming tonight. What makes this station so unique?
The talent. Bob Costa is on the video. Half the people in this building are former employees of KMOX or current employees of KMOX. It's the people that make KMOX special.
And of course, the power of the station was enormous. I can tell a quick story. We were doing a hockey game in Toronto with Dan Kelly. We got into a cab outside Maple Leaf Gardens after the game, and all Dan Kelly did was tell the cabbie what hotel. And the cab driver turns, "You're Dan Kelly, aren't you?" Dan said, "Well, yeah." He said, "I listened to KMOX here outside Maple Leaf Gardens, listening to the Blues game because I don't like the Toronto announcers." But that's the power of it. You get into Mexico, in Canada.
And I think what makes it unique is when Mr. Hyland created the radio station in that format, it's a full-service radio station. It's not a typical radio station. Randy Carricker's here. He's at a great radio station, 101 ESPN, and it's an all-sports radio station. That's their focus. At KMOX, news and information is important to us, community service is important to us, and of course we've got the play-by-play.
Yeah, the play-by-play has been big, but news also has been very big.
It's pretty big today.
Yeah, I guess you're right about that. Yeah.
Checking a lot of emails and a lot of text messages today.
So where is radio going? AM radio is a struggle in the sense that with everything that's happened in this country in terms of social media, cable network, satellites, ESPN, all the cable news shows, it's a challenge, isn't it, especially for AM?
Yeah, it's a challenge, but I think that we look at it now that we're not an AM radio station, we're a media company. And the fact is, the phone is probably the place that radio is going, not only AM radio, but all radio. And if you look at your car is going to plug into your telephone, and you're going to get your radio stations through there. So I think the most important thing about KMOX is local. It's about local content. It's about communicating the news and information to the local news and information to our people.
And you look back at all the legendary announcers back to Rex Davidson, Bob Hardy, and Jack Carney, and people like that. It's proud for us to be from that station with those people.
Well, just tonight, talking about Jack Buck. Jack Buck was the reason, I grew up in St. Louis. Jack Buck's the reason why I got into this business. I actually wanted to do the games with Jack Buck. I thought it was going to be, Jack, and then me, and Shannon would be,
right.
Get a couple innings or something.
Right. And send him out for a beer.
Yeah, right. But it was, those personalities were legendary. They were stars in our community. And their outreach into the community was more than what they were just doing on the microphone. They gave so much to the community itself.
And a good idea of the power of KMOX. I just mentioned what you guys did last week.
Well, absolutely. Charlie Brennan's terrific. The whole team at KMOX did a fantastic job. I think they raised nearly $100,000 total. That was all sent to Houston. 6 truckloads, 53-foot long trucks full of cleaning supplies and non-perishable food items. It was, a fantastic effort. That's the second time we've done that this year so far.
Well, I'm proud to have spent a quarter of a century there. Thanks, Steve.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you.
KMOX, the Community Service Award tonight.